Cologne, Colognian, car paragraph leg, unregistered trademark A, is Germany's fourth largest city, and is the largest city both in the German federal state of North Rhine-Westphalia and within the Rhine-Ruhr Metropolitan Area, one of the major European metropolitan areas with more than 10 million inhabitants. Cologne is located on both sides of the Rhine River. The city's famous Cologne Cathedral is the seat of the Catholic Archbishop of Cologne. The University of Cologne is one of Europe's oldest and largest universities. Cologne was founded and established in the 1st century AD, as the Roman Colonia Claudia Agrippinensium in Eubur territory. It was the capital of the Roman province of Germania Inferior and the headquarters of the military in the region until occupied by the Franks in 462. During the Middle Ages it flourished as one of the most important major trade routes between East and Western Europe. Cologne was one of the leading members of the Hanseatic League and one of the largest cities north of the Alps in medieval and Renaissance times. Up until World War II the city had undergone several other occupations by the French and also the British. Cologne was one of the most heavily bombed cities in Germany during World War II. The bombing reduced the population by 95% and destroyed almost the entire city. With the intention of restoring as many historic buildings as possible, the rebuilding has resulted in a very mixed and unique cityscape. Cologne is a major cultural center of the Rhineland. It is home to more than 30 museums and hundreds of galleries. Exhibitions range from local ancient Roman archaeological sites to contemporary graphics and sculpture. The Cologne Trade Fair hosts a number of trade shows such as Art Cologne, Im Cologne, Gamescom, and the Photokina. History. Roman Cologne, the first urban settlement on the grounds of modern-day Cologne was Oppidum Ubierum, founded in 38 BC by the Uber, a Sicilian Germanic tribe. In 50 AD, the Romans founded Colonia on the Rhine and the city became the provincial capital of Germania Inferior in 85 AD. The city was named Colonia Claudia Agrippinensium in 50 AD. Considerable Roman remains can be found in present-day Cologne, especially near the wharf area, where a notable discovery of a 1900-year-old Roman boat was made in late 2007. From 260 to 271 Cologne was the capital of the Gallic Empire under Postumus, Marius, and Victorinus. In 310 under Constantine a bridge was built over the Rhine at Cologne. Roman imperial governors resided in the city and it became one of the most important trade and production centers in the Roman Empire north of the Alps. Matinus, who was elected as bishop in 313, was the first known bishop of Cologne. The city was the capital of a Roman province until occupied by the Ripuarian Franks in 462. Parts of the original Roman sewers are preserved underneath the city, with the new sewerage system having opening in 1890. Middle Ages, early medieval Cologne was part of Austrasia within the Frankish Empire. Cologne had been the seat of a bishop since the Roman period. Under Charlemagne, in 795, Bishop Hildebold was promoted to archbishop. In 953, the archbishops of Cologne first gained noteworthy secular power, when Bishop Bruno was appointed as duke by his brother Emperor Otto I in order to weaken the secular nobility, who threatened his power. Otto endowed Bruno and his successors on the bishop's see with the prerogatives of secular princes, thus establishing the electorate of Cologne, formed by the temporal possessions of the archbishopric and included in the Ender strip of territory along the left bank of the Rhine east of Jar 1/4 Lich, as well as the Duchy of Westphalia on the other side of the Rhine, beyond Berg and Mark. By the end of the 12th century, the Archbishop of Cologne was one of the 7 electors of the Holy Roman Emperor. Besides being Prince-Elector, he was Arch-Chancellor of Italy as well, technically from 1238 and permanently from 1263 until 1803. Following the Battle of Waringen in 1288, Cologne gained its independence from the archbishops and became a free city. Archbishop Siegfried II von Westerberg was forced into exile in Bonn. The archbishop nevertheless preserved the right of capital punishment. Thus the municipal council depended upon him in all matters concerning criminal justice. This included torture, which sentence was only allowed to be handed down by the episcopal judge, the so-called griv. This legal situation lasted until the French conquest of Cologne. Besides its economic and political significance, Cologne also became an important center of medieval pilgrimage, when Cologne's Archbishop Reinald of Dassel gave the relics of the Three Wise Men to Cologne's Cathedral in 1164. Besides the Three Magi, Cologne preserves the relics of Saint Ursula and Albertus Magnus. Cologne's location on the River Rhine placed it at the intersection of the major trade routes between East and West and was the basis of Cologne's growth. By 1300 the city population were 50,000. Cologne was a member of the Hanseatic League in 1475, when Frederick III confirmed the city's imperial immediacy. Early modern history. The economic structures of medieval and early modern Cologne were characterized by the city's status as a major harbor and transport hub upon the Rhine. Craftsmanship was organized by self-administering guilds, some of which were exclusive to women. As a free city, Cologne was a sovereign state within the Holy Roman Empire and as such had the right to maintain its own military force. Wearing a red uniform, these troops were known as the Rotfunken. These soldiers were part of the army of the Holy Roman Empire and fought in the wars of the 17th and 18th century, including the wars against revolutionary France, when this small force was almost completely wiped out in combat. The tradition of these troops is preserved as a military persiflage by Cologne's most outstanding Carnival society, the Rotfunken. The Free City of Cologne must not be confused with the Archbishopric of Cologne, which was a state of its own within the Holy Roman Empire. Since the second half of the 16th century, the archbishops were taken from the Bavarian dynasty Wittelsbach. Due to the free status of Cologne, the archbishops were usually not allowed to enter the city. Thus they took up residence in Bonn and later in Bra-1/4 on the Rhine. As members of an influential and powerful family and supported by their outstanding status as electors, the archbishops of Cologne repeatedly challenged and threatened the free status of Cologne during the 17th and 18th century, resulting in complicated affairs, which were handled by diplomatic means and propaganda as well as by the supreme courts of the Holy Roman Empire. From the 19th century until World War II, Cologne lost its status as a free city during the French period. According to the Peace Treaty of Luna Copyrightville, all the territories of the Holy Roman Empire on the left bank of the Rhine were officially incorporated into the French Republic. Thus this region later became part of Napoleon's empire. Cologne was part of the French Dark Copyright Parlement Rouen with Aachen as its capital. The French modernized public life, for example by introducing the Napoleonic Code and removing the old elites from power. The Napoleonic Code remained in use on the left bank of the Rhine until 1900, when a unified civil code was introduced in the German Empire. In 1815 at the Congress of Vienna, Cologne was made part of the Kingdom of Prussia, first in the Jar-1/4 province and then the Rhine province. The permanent tensions between the Roman Catholic Rhineland and the overwhelmingly Protestant Prussian state repeatedly escalated, with Cologne being in the focus of the conflict. In 1837 the Archbishop of Cologne, Clemens August von Droste-Fischering, was arrested and imprisoned for 2 years after a dispute over the legal status of marriages between Protestants and Roman Catholics. In 1874, during the Kulturkampf, Archbishop Paul Melchers was imprisoned before taking refuge in the Netherlands. These conflicts alienated the Catholic population from Berlin and contributed to a deeply felt anti-Prussian resentment, which was still significant after World War II, when the former mayor of Cologne, Konrad Adenauer, became the first West German chancellor. During the 19th and 20th centuries, Cologne absorbed numerous surrounding towns, and by World War I had already grown to 700,000 inhabitants. Industrialization changed the city and spurred its growth. Vehicle and engine manufacturing were especially successful, though heavy industry was less ubiquitous than in the Ruhr area. The cathedral, started in 1248 but abandoned around 1560, was eventually finished in 1880 not just as a place of worship but also as a German national monument celebrating the newly founded German Empire and the continuity of the German nation since the Middle Ages. Some of this urban growth occurred at the expense of the city's historic heritage, with much being demolished and sometimes replaced by present-day buildings. Cologne was designated as one of the fortresses of the German Confederation. It was turned into a heavily armed fortress with 2 fortified belts surrounding the city, the remains of which can be seen to this day. The military demands on what became Germany's largest fortress presented a significant obstacle to urban development, with forts, bunkers, and wide defensive dugouts completely encircling the city and preventing expansion. This resulted in a very dense built-up area within the city itself. During World War I, Cologne was the target of several but minor air raids and survived the hostilities without significant damage. Until 1926, Cologne was occupied by the British Army of the Rhine under the terms of the armistice and the subsequent Versailles Peace Treaty. Contrary to the harsh measures taken by French occupation troops, the British acted with more tact towards the local population. The mayor of Cologne from 1917 until 1933 and future West German Chancellor Konrad Adenauer acknowledged the political impact of this approach, especially that the British had opposed French plans for a permanent Allied occupation of the Rhineland. As part of the demilitarization of the Rhineland, the fortifications had to be dismantled. This was taken as an opportunity to create 2 green belts around the city by converting the fortifications and their clear fields of fire into large public parks. However, this project was not completed until 1933. In 1919, the University of Cologne, closed by the French in 1798, was refounded. This refoundation was considered a replacement for the loss of the German University of Strasbourg, which reverted to France with the rest of Alsace. Cologne prospered during the Weimar Republic and progress was made especially with respect to public governance, city planning, housing and social affairs. Social housing projects were considered exemplary and copied by other German cities. As Cologne competed for hosting the Olympics, a modern sports stadium was erected at Mauer-Kortengarsdorf. When the British occupation ended, the prohibition of civil aviation was removed and Cologne-Butweilerhof Airport soon became a hub for national and international air traffic, second in Germany only to Berlin-Tempelhof Airport. The Democratic parties lost the local elections in Cologne in March 1933 to the Nazi Party and other right-wing parties. Thereafter Communists as well as Social Democrats members of the city assembly were imprisoned and Mayor Adenauer was dismissed by the new holders of power. However, compared to other major cities, the Nazis never gained decisive support in Cologne significantly. The number of votes cast for the Nazi Party in Reichstag elections had always been the national average. By 1939 the population had risen to 772,221 inhabitants. World War II. During World War II, Cologne was a military area command headquarters for the Military District 6 of Mar-1/4-NSTER. Cologne was under the command of Lieutenant General Friedrich von Diersberg, who was responsible for military operations in Bonn, Seeberg, Aachen, Jar-1/4-Lich, Dar-1/4-Rennes, and Münchau. Cologne was home to the 211th Infantry Regiment and the 26th Artillery Regiment. During the bombing of Cologne in World War II, Cologne endured 262 air raids by the Western Allies, which caused approximately 20,000 civilian casualties and almost completely wiped out the center of the city. During the night of May 31, 1942, Cologne was the target of Operation Millennium, the first 1,000 bomber raid by the Royal Air Force in World War II. 1,046 heavy bombers attacked their target with 1,455 tons of explosives, approximately two-thirds of which were incendiary. This raid lasted about 75 minutes, destroyed 600 acres of built-up area, killed 486 civilians and made 59,000 people homeless. By the end of the war, the population of Cologne had been reduced by 95%. This loss was mainly caused by a massive evacuation of the people to more rural areas. The same happened in many other German cities in the last 2 years of war. By the end of 1945, however, the population had already recovered to approximately 500,000. By the end of the war, essentially all of Cologne's pre-war Jewish population of 11,000 had been deported or killed by the Nazis. The 6 synagogues of the city were destroyed. The synagogue on Ruhnstraße was rebuilt in 1959. Post-war Cologne until today. Despite Cologne's status as the largest city in the region, nearby kœöln was chosen as the political capital of the federated state of North Rhine-Westphalia. With Bonn being chosen as the provisional capital and seat of the government of the Federal Republic of Germany, Cologne benefited by being sandwiched between two important political centers. The city became and still is home to a number of federal agencies and organizations. After reunification in 1990, Berlin was made the capital of Germany. In 1945, architect and urban planner Rudolf Schwarz called Cologne the world's greatest heap of rubble. Schwarz designed the Master Plan of Reconstruction in 1947, which called for the construction of several new thoroughfares through the downtown area, especially the Nord-Saar-Quartier. The master plan took into consideration the fact that even shortly after the war a large increase in automobile traffic could be anticipated. Plans for new roads had already, to a certain degree, evolved under the Nazi administration, but the actual construction became easier in times when the majority of downtown lots were undeveloped. The destruction of 95% of the city centre, including the famous 12 Romanesque churches like Streeter Geron, Great Streeter Martin, Streeter Maria and Capitol and several other monuments in World War II, meant a tremendous loss of cultural treasures. The rebuilding of those churches and other landmarks like the Gar-1/4 Event Hall was not undisputed among leading architects and art historians at the time, but in most cases, civil intention prevailed. The reconstruction lasted until the 1990s, when the Romanesque church of Streeter Cunibut was finished. In 1959, the city's population reached pre-war numbers again. It then grew steadily, exceeding 1 million for about 1 year from 1975. It has remained just below that until mid-2010, when it exceeded 1 million again. Post-reunification, in the 1980s and 1990s, Cologne's economy prospered for two main reasons. Firstly, a growth in the number of media companies, both in the private and public sectors. They are especially catered for in the newly developed media park, which creates a strongly visual focal point in the Cologne town centre and includes the KÖLN, one of Cologne's most prominent high-rise buildings. Secondly, a permanent improvement of the diverse traffic infrastructure made Cologne one of the most easily accessible metropolitan areas in Central Europe. Due to the economic success of the Cologne Trade Fair, the city arranged a large extension to the fair site in 2005. At the same time, the original buildings, which date back to the 1920s, are rented out to RTL, Germany's largest private broadcaster, as their new corporate headquarters. Geography: the metropolitan area encompasses over 405 square kilometers, extending around a center point that lies at 50° 56 feet 33 latitude and 6° 57 feet 32 longitude. The city's highest point is 118 am above sea level and its lowest point is 37.5 am above sea level. The city of Cologne lies within the larger area of the Cologne lowland, a cone-shaped area of southeastern Westphalia that lies between Bonn, Aachen and Dar-1/4. Districts: Cologne is subdivided into 9 districts and 85 city parts. Climate: Cologne is one of the warmest cities in Germany. It has a temperature Euro-oceanic climate with relatively mild winters and warm summers. It is also one of the gloomiest cities in Germany, with just 14-27 hours of sun a year. Its average annual temperature is 10.3 degrees Celsius, 14.8 degrees Celsius during the day and 5.8 degrees Celsius at night. In January, the mean temperature is 2.6 degrees Celsius, while the mean temperature in July is 18.8 degrees Celsius. Precipitation is spread evenly throughout the year. Flood protection: Cologne is regularly affected by flooding from the Rhine and is considered the most flood-prone European city. A city agency manages an extensive flood control system which includes both permanent and mobile flood walls, protection from rising waters for buildings close to the river banks, monitoring and forecasting systems, pumping stations and programs to create or protect floodplains, and river embankments. The system was redesigned after a 1993 flood, which resulted in heavy damage. Demographics: In the Roman Empire the city was large and rich with a population of 40,000 in 100 200 AD. The city was home to around 20,000 people in 1000 AD, growing to 50,000 in 1200 AD. The Rhineland metropolis still had 50,000 residents in 1300 AD. Cologne is the fourth largest city in Germany in terms of inhabitants after Berlin, Hamburg and Munich. As of June 30, 2011, there were officially 1,010,269 residents. Cologne is the center of the Cologne-Bonn region with around 3 million inhabitants. According to local statistics, in 2006, the population density in the city was 2,528 inhabitants per square kilometer. 31.4% of the population has migrated there, and 17.2% of Cologne's population is non-German. The largest group, comprising 6.3% of the total population, is Turkish. As of September 2007, there are about 120,000 Muslims living in Cologne, mostly of Turkish origin. Cologne also has the oldest and one of the largest Jewish communities in Germany. In the city the population was spread out with 15.5% under the age of 18, 67.0% from 18 to 64 and 17.4% who were 65 years of age or older. Government. The city's administration is headed by the mayor and the 3 deputy mayors. Kœln Rotters of the Social Democratic Party has been mayor since October 20, 2009. Political traditions and developments. The long tradition of a free imperial city, which long dominated an exclusively Catholic population, and the age-old conflict between the church and the bourgeoisie has created its own political climate in Cologne. Various interest groups often form the basis of societal socialization and therefore beyond party boundaries. The resulting network of relationships, with political, economic, and cultural links with each other in a system of mutual favors, obligations and dependencies, is called the Cologne Coterie. This has often led to an unusual proportional distribution in the city government and degenerated at times into corruption. In 1999, a waste scandal over kickbacks and illegal campaign contributions came to light, which led not only to the imprisonment of the entrepreneur Helmut Trinakens, but also to the downfall of almost the entire leadership staff of the ruling Social Democrats. Mayor. The Lord Mayor of Cologne is Kœln Rotters of the Social Democratic Party. As the joint candidate of the SPD and the Greens, he received 54.67% of the vote on August 30, 2009 at the municipal election. He has been Lord Mayor since October 21, 2009. Elections. City councillors are elected for a 5-year term and the mayor has a 6-year term. Makeup of City Council, Cityscape. The inner city of Cologne was completely destroyed during World War II. The reconstruction of the city followed the style of the 1950s, while respecting the old layout and naming of the streets. Thus, the city today is characterized by simple and modest post-war buildings, with few interspersed pre-war buildings which were reconstructed due to their historical importance. Some buildings of the Wiederaufbauzeit, for example the Opera House by Wilhelm Rafn, are nowadays regarded as classics of modern architecture. Nevertheless, the uncompromising style of the Cologne Opera House and other modern buildings has remained controversial. Green areas account for over a quarter of Cologne, which is approximately 75 am2 of public green space for every citizen of the city. Wildlife. The presence of animals in Cologne is generally limited to insects, small rodents, and several species of birds. Pigeons are the most often seen animals in Cologne, although the number of birds are augmented each year by a growing population of feral exotics, most visibly parrots such as the rose-ringed parakeet. The sheltered climate in southeast Westphalia allows these birds to survive through the winter, and in some cases they are displacing native species. The plumage of Cologne's green parrots is highly visible even from a distance, and contrasts starkly with the otherwise muted colors of the cityscape. Tourism. Cologne had 4.31 million overnight stays booked and 2.38 million arrivals in 2008. The city also has the most pubs per capita in Germany. The city has 70 clubs, countless bars, restaurants, and pubs. Landmarks, churches. Cologne Cathedral is the city's most famous monument and the Cologne residents' most respected landmark. It is a Gothic church, started in 1248, and completed in 1880. In 1996, it was designated a World Heritage Site. It houses the Shrine of the Three Kings, which supposedly contains the relics of the Three Magi. Residents of Cologne sometimes refer to the cathedral as the Eternal Construction Site. 12 Romanesque churches. These buildings are outstanding examples of medieval church architecture. The origins of some of the churches go back as far as Roman times, for example Street de Giron, which was originally a chapel in a Roman graveyard. With the exception of St. Maria Liskerken, all of these churches were very badly damaged during World War II. Reconstruction was only finished in the 1990s. Medieval houses. The Cologne City Hall, founded in the 12th century, is the oldest city hall in Germany still in use. The Renaissance-style loggia and tower were added in the 15th century. Other famous buildings include the Gar 1/4 Rosenisch, Haus Salek and the Overstolzenhaus. Medieval city gates. Of the once 12 medieval city gates, only the Eigelsien-Torberg at Ebertplatz, the Hainentler at Rudolfplatz and the Severinstorberg at Glodwigplatz still stand today. Streets. The Cologne Ring boulevards with their medieval city gates are also known for their nightlife. Hochstraße is one of the main shopping areas and extends past the cathedral in an approximately southerly direction. The street contains many gift shops, clothing stores, fast food restaurants and electronic goods dealers. Skaldergasse connects the new Marktplaza on its west end to the southern end of the Hochstraße shopping street at its east end and has been named the busiest shopping street in Europe with 13,000 people passing through every hour. Arienstraße the shopping area around Apostolstraße, Arienstraße, and Rudolfplatz is a little more on the eccentric and stylish side. Bridges. Several bridges cross the Rhine in Cologne. They are, the Cologne Rodenkirchen Bridge, South Bridge, Severin Bridge, Dietz Bridge, Hohenzollern Bridge, Zoo Bridge and Cologne Mar 1/4 Bridge. In particular the Iron-Tide Arch Hohenzollern Bridge is a dominant landmark along the river embankment. A Rhine River crossing of a special kind is provided by the Cologne Cable Car, a cableway that runs across the Rhine between the Cologne Zoological Garden in Riehl and the Rhine Park in Dietz. High-rise structures. Cologne's tallest structure is the Colognian telecommunication tower at 266 am or 873 ft. The observation deck has been closed since 1992. A selection of the tallest buildings in Cologne are listed below. Other tall structures include the Hansa-Hochhaus, the Krankenhaus buildings at Rheinhofen, and the Mesturmkar Paragraph LN. Culture. Cologne has several museums. The famous Roman Germanic Museum features art and architecture from the city's distant past. The Museum Ludwig houses one of the most important collections of modern art in Europe, including a Picasso collection matched only by the museums in Barcelona and Paris. The Museum Schner 1/4 TGN of religious art is partly housed in Street de Cecilia, one of Cologne's 12 Romanesque churches. Several orchestras are active in the city, among them the Gar 1/4 Rosenisch Orchestra and the WDR Symphony Orchestra Cologne, both based at the Cologne Philharmonic Orchestra building. Other orchestras are the Musica Antica K Paragraph LN and the WDR Rundfunk Orchester K Paragraph LN, as well as the Cologne Opera and several choirs, including the WDR Rundfunk K Paragraph LN. Cologne was also an important center of electronic music in the 1950s and again from the 1990s onward. The public radio and TV station WDR was involved in promoting musical movements such as krautrock in the 1970s. The influential Köln was formed there in 1968. There are several centers of nightlife, among them the Quartierlater Currency NG in the nightclub-studded areas around Hohenzollernring, Fressenplatz and Rudolfplatz. The large annual literary festival Lit Cologne features regional and international authors. The main literary figure connected with Cologne is writer Heinrich Bar Paragraph LL, winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature. Cologne is well known for its beer, called K Paragraph LSCH. K Paragraph LSCH is also the name of the local dialect. This has led to the common joke of kəʻloʊn being the only language one can drink. Cologne is also famous for Eau De Cologne, a perfume created by Italian expatriate Johann Maria Farina at the beginning of the 18th century. During the 18th century this perfume became increasingly popular, was exported all over Europe by the Farina family, and Farina became a household name for Eau De Cologne. In 1803 Wilhelm I Kœln entered into a contract with an unrelated person from Italy named Carlo Francesco Farina, who granted him the right to use his family name, and Ma Kœln opened a small factory at Cologne's Glockengasse. In later years and after various court battles, his grandson Ferdinand Ma Kœln had to abandon the name Farina for the company in their product. He decided to use the house number given to the factory at Glockengasse during French occupation in the early 19th century, 4711. Today, original Eau de Cologne is still produced in Cologne by both the Farina family, currently in the 8th generation, and by Mark-Currency Jura and Wirtz, who bought the 4711 brand in 2006. Carnival. The Cologne Carnival is one of the largest street festivals in Europe. In Cologne, the carnival season officially starts on November 11 at 11 a.m. with the proclamation of the new carnival season, and continues until Ash Wednesday. However, the so-called Toltage don't start until Weiberfastnacht, or, in dialect, Weiberfestellabend, the Thursday before Ash Wednesday, which is the beginning of the street carnival. Zaun-Kortelpischer Strasse and its surroundings, Neumarkt Square, Heumarkt, and all bars and pubs in the city are crowded with people in costumes dancing and drinking in the streets. Hundreds of thousands of visitors flock to Cologne during this time. Generally, around 1 million people celebrate in the streets on the Thursday before Ash Wednesday. Rivalry with Darwin-Kürtisseldorf. Cologne and Darwin-Kürtisseldorf have a fierce regional rivalry, which includes carnival parades, football, and beer. People in Cologne prefer kəʻloʊn, while people in Darwin-Kürtisseldorf prefer alt. Waiters and patrons will scorn, and make a mockery of people who order alt beer in Cologne and kəʻloʊn in Darwin-Kürtisseldorf. The rivalry has been described as a love-hate relationship. Museums. Farina Fragrance Museum, birthplace of Eau de Cologne. Mich Germanisches Museum, ancient Roman and Germanic culture. Ulrich Freischart's Museum, European painting from the 13th to the early 20th century. Museum Ludwig, modern art. Museum Schner 1/4 TGEN, medieval art. Museum Far 1/4 Arrangement Kunst, applied art. Columba Kunstmuseum des Erzbistums KäÄ, modern art museum built around medieval ruins, completed 2007. Cathedral Treasury Doms Schatzkammer, historic underground vaults of the cathedral. ELDE House, a former local headquarters of the Gestapo houses a museum documenting Nazi rule in Cologne with a special focus on the persecution of political dissenters and minorities. German Sports and Olympic Museum, exhibitions about sports from antiquity until the present. Im Hofschokoladen Museum, chocolate museum. Forum for Internet Technology and Contemporary Art, collections of Internet-based art. Corporate part of Cologne, the experimental platform for art and new media. Flora und Botanische Garten KäÄ, the city's formal park and main botanical garden. Forstbotanische Garten KäÄ, an arboretum and woodland botanical garden. Music fairs and festivals. The city was home to the internationally famous Ringfest, and now to the CO Pop Festival. In addition, Cologne is enjoying a thriving Christmas market Weihnachtsmarkt presence with several locations in the city. Economy. As the largest city in the Rhine-Ruhr Metropolitan Region, Cologne benefits from a large market structure. In competition for location factors with Darwin-Kürtisseldorf, the economy of Cologne is primarily based on insurance and media industries, while the city is also an important cultural and research center and home to a number of corporate headquarters. Among the largest media companies based in Cologne are Westdeutscher Rundfunk, RTL Television, NTV, Deutschlandradio, Brainpool TV, and publishing houses like JP. Bachem, Taschen, Tandem Verlag, and Aire du Mont-Scoburg. Several clusters of media, arts and communications agencies, TV production studios, and state agencies work partly with private and government-funded cultural institutions. Among the insurance companies based in Cologne are Central, DEVK, DKV, Generali Deutschland, kœtöä, HDI Gerling and national headquarters of AXA Insurance and Zurich Financial Services. Lufthansa, the German flag carrier, and Lufthansa City Line have their main corporate headquarters in Cologne. The largest employer in Cologne is Ford Europe, which has its European headquarters and a factory in Lille. Toyota Motorsport GmbH, Toyota's official motorsports team, responsible for Toyota rally cars, and then Formula One cars, has headquarters and workshops in Cologne. Other large companies based in Cologne include the REWE Group, VW Rheinland, Deutz AG and a number of car paragraph LSCH breweries. Cologne has the country's highest density of pubs per capita. The largest three car paragraph LSCH breweries are Reisdorf, Gafl, and Fra 1/4 H. Historically, Cologne has always been an important trade city, with land, air, and sea connections. The city has 5 Rhine ports, the second largest inland port in Germany and one of the largest in Europe. Cologne-Bonn Airport is the second largest freight terminal in Germany. Today, the Cologne Trade Fair ranks as a major European trade fair location with over 50 trade fairs and other large cultural and sports events. In 2008, Cologne had 4.31 million overnight accommodations booked and 2.38 million arrivals. Cologne's largest daily newspaper is the car paragraph LNER Stadtanzeiger. Transport. Road transport. Road building had been a major issue in the 1920s under the leadership of Mayor Konrad Adenauer. The first German limited-access road was constructed after 1929 between Cologne and Bonn. Today, this is the Bundesautobahn 555. In 1965, Cologne became the first German city to be fully encircled by a freeway belt. Roughly at the same time a downtown bypass freeway was planned, but only partially put into effect, due to opposition by environmental groups. The completed section became Bundesstraße 55, which begins at the Zubra 1/4 CKE and meets with A4 and A3 at the interchange Cologne East. Nevertheless, it is referred to as Stadtautobahn by most locals. In contrast to this, the Nord-Saar 1/4 DFAT was actually completed, a new 4/6-lane downtown thoroughfare, which had already been anticipated by planners like Fritz Schumacher in the 1920s. The last section south of Ebertplatz was completed in 1972. In 2005, the first stretch of an 8-lane freeway in North Rhine-Westphalia was opened to traffic on Bundesautobahn A3, part of the eastern section of the Cologne Beltway between the interchanges Cologne East and Humor. Cycling. Like most German cities, Cologne has a traffic layout designed to be bicycle-friendly. There is an extensive cycle network, featuring pavement-edge cycle lanes linked by cycle priority crossings. In some of the narrow one-way central streets, cyclists are explicitly allowed to cycle both ways. Rail transport. Cologne has a railway service with Deutsche Bahn Intercity and ICE trains stopping at Car Paragraph LN Hauptbahnhof, Car Paragraph LN Messdutz and Cologne-Bonn Airport. ICE and TGV Thalys high-speed trains link Cologne with Amsterdam, Brussels and Paris. There are frequent ICE trains to other German cities, including Frankfurt am Main and Berlin. ICE trains to London via the Channel Tunnel were to be planned for 2013. Channel Tunnel liberalization is now not expected until 2014 and may be a Deutsche Bahn service in 2015 if the rolling stock meets the revised requirements of Eurotunnel. The Cologne City Railway operated by Car Paragraph LNER Verkehrsbetrieb is an extensive light rail system that is partially underground and serves Cologne and a number of neighboring cities. Nearby Bonn is linked by both the City Railway and Deutsche Bahn trains, and occasional recreational boats on the Rhine. Da 1/4 Seldorf is also linked by S-Bahn trains which are operated by Deutsche Bahn. There are also frequent buses covering most of the city and surrounding suburbs, and Eurolines coaches to London via Brussels. Water transport. Har currency fenun gar 1/4 Terverkehr. Car paragraph LN is one of the largest operators for inland ports in Germany. Ports include Car paragraph LN Deutz, Car paragraph LN Godorf, and Car paragraph LN Niederlyon 2. Car paragraph LN dar 1/4 Seldorfer offers Rhine River cruises along the entire Rhine. Air transport. Cologne's international airport is Cologne Bonn Airport. It is also called Konrad Adenauer Airport after Germany's first post-war Chancellor Konrad Adenauer, who was born in the city and was mayor of Cologne from 1917 until 1933. The airport is shared with the neighboring city of Bonn. Cologne is headquarters to the European Aviation Safety Agency. The airport is also the main hub of the airline Germanwings. Education. Cologne is home to numerous universities and colleges, and hosts to some 72,000 students. Its oldest university, the University of Cologne, is the largest university in Germany, as the Cologne University of Applied Sciences is the largest university of applied sciences in the country. The Cologne University of Music and Dance is the largest conservatory in Europe. Foreigners can have German lessons in the VHS. Media. Within Germany, Cologne is known as an important media center. Several radio and television stations, including Westdeutscher Rundfunk, RTL and Vox, have their headquarters in the city. Film and TV production is also important. The city is Germany's capital of TV crime stories. A third of all German TV productions are produced in the Cologne region. Furthermore, the city hosts the Cologne Comedy Festival, which is considered to be the largest comedy festival in mainland Europe. Sports. Cologne hosts 1. FC Car paragraph LN, who play in the Bundesliga. They play their home matches in Rhine-Ruhr Stadion, which also hosted 5 matches of the 2006 FIFA World Cup. The International Olympic Committee and Internationale Vereinigung Sport und Freiheit in Rechten V gave Rhine-Ruhr Stadion a bronze medal for being one of the best sporting venues in the world. Cologne also hosts FC Victoria Car paragraph LN 1904 and SC Fortuna Car paragraph LN, who play in the Regionalliga West. The city is also home of the ice hockey team Car paragraph LN EOH, in the highest ice hockey league in Germany, the Deutsche Eishockey-Liga. They are based at the Lanxess Arena. Several horse races per year are held at Cologne Wiedenpasch race course since 1897. The annual Cologne Marathon was started in 1997. From 2002 to Euro 2009, the Panasonic Toyota Racing Formula One team was based in the Marsdorf suburb, at the Toyota Motorsport GmbH facility. Cologne is considered the secret golf capital of Germany. The first golf club in North Rhine-Westphalia was founded in Cologne in 1906. The city offers the most options and top events in Germany. The city has hosted several athletic events, which includes the 2005 FIFA Confederations Cup, 2006 FIFA World Cup, 2007 World Men's Handball Championship, 2010 IIHF World Championship and 2010 Gay Games. Notable residents. Notable people, whose roots can be found in Cologne: Konrad Adenauer, politician, mayor of Cologne and first West German federal chancellor; Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa, alchemist, occultist, and author of 3 books of occult philosophy; Agrippina the Younger, Roman empress and mother of Emperor Nero; Heinrich Baum, a Catholic monk; Heinrich Boygk Knight's Cross winner; Robert Blum, politician and martyr of the 19th century democratic movement in Germany; Heinrich Bar paragraph LL, writer and winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1972; Max Bruch, composer; Alex Calatrava, Spanish professional tennis player; Heribert Collin, sculptor; Florian Heinkel von Donnersmarck, Academy Award-winning director and screenwriter; Max Ernst, artist; Angelo Gasso, former lead vocalist of Swedish melodic death metal band Arch Enemy; Britta Heidemann, a copyright defensor and Olympic medalist; Trude Herr, actress and singer; Stephanie Haar paragraph Nair, actress; Udo Kier, actor; Lukas Podolski, German footballer; Jutta Kleinschmidt, off-road automotive racing competitor; Werner Klemperer, Emmy Award-winning comedy actor, Eric Klibanski, Jewish headmaster and teacher, Adolf Kölle, Jewish rabbi and medievalist, Gabi Carl-Paragraphster, German actress and comedian, de Hildegard Krikel, actress, de Lotte Krikel, actress and singer, Jörg Krupp, professional hockey player, Heinz Karl HN, Minister-President of North Rhine-Westphalia, Heiner Lauterbach, actor, Julia Leischig, German editor-in-chief, television presenter and television producer. Ottmar Liebert, musician, de Mariel Milowicz, actress, de Peter Milowicz, actor, playwright and theatre director, Willy Milowicz, actor, playwright and theatre director, Wolfgang Niedecken, singer, musician, artist and band leader of BAP, Theodore of Corsica, briefly King Theodore of Corsica, Jacques Offenbach, composer, de Willy Ostermann, composer, Kim Petras, singer, Frederick Prausnitz, American conductor and teacher, Krista Parker and CFFGENA, also known as Nico, model, actress, singer, and songwriter in Velvet Underground and Warhol's superstar, Stefan Raab, German entertainer and host of Eurovision Song Contest 2011, JA 1/4 GEN RA 1/4 TTGERS, Minister-President of North Rhine-Westphalia. JA 1/4 GEN Fritz, musician and composer, Markus Stockhausen, musician and composer, Wolfgang von Trips, Formula One racing driver, Joost van den Vundel, Dutch poet and playwright, Moshe Wallach, founder and director of Shadzik Hospital, Jerusalem, Robert Imar, legal scientist and psychologist, Christoph Ottrin, singer, US5, Karl Eland, German blacksmith, see also, Stadtwerke Carl LN, the municipal infrastructure company, operator of the city's railways, ports, and utilities. History of the Jews in Cologne, list of twin towns and sister cities in Germany, references. External links, City of Cologne, official City of Cologne page.